I'm going to share my story, and I'm not going to be afraid to share my story. And I dare anybody on this department to come up to me and tell me I'm weak, because they won't. And not one person has. I'm not glad I got to where I was, but I came out of it alive for a purpose, and this is my purpose.
I love doing my job. It's a good job. And it's fun.
I kind of put him on a pedestal a little bit.
We work with some pretty amazing people. We live together, we cook together. You become family.
We have a family here.
I just kind of decided that's what I want to do. I'm going to just pursue it until I get it. Thought I won the lotto, when I got that phone call.
Sometimes it's been a better family than what my home lives have been.
It's the way I view the fire service as a family.
They've always been there for me, and I like being there for them.
I wouldn't want anything bad to happen to any of my family.
Story Woodford Residential. Smoke showing floor 2. We're going to rescue mode. We're going to VEIS TD there. We're going to scoop one patient. We got a 4-year-old breathing but unconscious.
I'm Craig Pollock. Some people call me Sam because my mom thought I was going to be a little girl. I'm 48, almost 49, and I'm a firefighter paramedic here at Engine 10. I was born in South Africa and moved to Spain when I was, I think, 8. And then we immigrated to the United States.
My name is Baige Tucker. Most of you know me as BJ Tucker, Engine 15 officer in Battalion 3 B shift. I was born in Sierra Leone, West Africa. I moved here at the age of 10. After my short stint playing professional football, I was advised by a professional firefighter to look into this profession.
I am Kristen Elmer, and I'm the captain of Engine 1. I have been with Tacoma for 16 years, been captain at ONES for almost 3 years. My dad was a firefighter. It just was something that really interested me. We'd go visit him at the fire station, and I would drag my sister out to the bay and play on the fire engine.
I got my EMT license in 1992 to get on the ski patrol. That's kind of what inspired me to be a firefighter. I never had even considered it because I was kind of a wayward child. My dad's like, well, what do you want? What do you want to do in life? I was like, yeah, I want to do that. I started fighting wildfires, and I was on a hotshot crew for 4 years, carrying a chainsaw around, doing extreme gardening of the Western United States. And then in 1996, I went to paramedic school. I've always wanted to do my job really as best as I possibly can. So I figured, what better place to go than LA? And that's where I started.
Did a volunteer academy to see if this is something I can possibly handle. I enjoyed it. And right after I did that volunteer academy, I started testing and landed with Tacoma, all within a year.
But I've been here now for 16 years. I actually started at Station 10 in South Los Angeles, and I'm ending up in Station 10 in South Tacoma.
I wasn't one of those people who wanted to be a firefighter as a kid. I wanted to be a pilot. And had a family friend, was on the Tacoma Fire Department, very close family friend, and gave me a call and said, hey, you should think about it. I did. I came back, took the test, and ended up getting hired shortly thereafter.
I was pre-med at Western, and once I realized paramedic was an option and fire, then this is where I wanted to be.
You could see a struggling student looking for ways to kind of get out of class. Saw the opportunity to take a firefighting class that would get me out of school, so to speak, for a couple hours every day. So I signed up and took it.
The cheesy childhood dream, right? Grew up across the street from a fire station and started pursuing it at a young age, and was fortunate enough to get hired relatively young, and the rest is history.
Teaches you how to work as a team. Teaches you how to get along with people in stressful situations.
What I love about the job is the unknown. You don't know what to really expect. And I think that's what really attracts me to this job.
Every day is different, and I love that I show up to work not knowing what the day is going to bring.
And you learn how to use tools like a champ.
The people. I love who we work with.
If I could have a fire every single day of my career, I'd be happy as a clam at high tide. That's just fun stuff.
You know, the fires, those are the awesome times, you know, where you're all together on the scenes, you get to experience those things together, talk about them, you know, those are all the big memories I'll have.
I'm the least educated out of my family. Everyone else has masters and PhDs, but I do have an edge on them because they don't know what to do in emergencies, so.
I love being a paramedic. I can't even really imagine not being a paramedic. I mean, I love being a firefighter. It's all the same to me. You know, where I came from, it's all the same. We didn't have 12 leads, didn't have RSI. We didn't even have pulse oximetry, bro. We had skin signs and a 3-lead.
The work is good. The unknown of calls is interesting and engaging, but the people is what sets this job apart.
Vern Porter, I'm Deputy Fire Marshal for the Tacoma Fire Department. Been in the fire service for 34 years. Been with Tacoma Fire for 28. Pretty much started my senior year in high school. My dad was a volunteer. A bunch of my friends were firefighters. I grew up in a small town, so I thought that they were heroes, you know? They were great people. They went out, they did great things. They always seemed to make the situation better for people, and then just kind of seemed like the thing to do. So I decided, hey, I want to do this. I want to make a career of it, help the community, do the best I can for people. Joined the fire service, and then I was a resident, and I was 18. Probably took about 64 written tests throughout a 5.5-year period. I just got lucky, got hired by the Tacoma Fire Department. Took the job, it was close to home. I grew up in this area, went to Bethel High School, so it was a great opportunity for me to come with the Tacoma Fire Department.
We're all different. We all have different support systems. We all have different backgrounds. We all have different upbringings. We all have different ways that we deal with our own stresses and challenges. And some people have systems that allow them to continue on as if nothing happened, and some people don't. It's rewarding work, but it's not good work. I mean, it really is harmful.
Just over 34 years, I've seen a lot of things, a lot of trauma things. Kids always bothered me the most, but I was always able to put that away.
The ones that really stick with me are the ones that involve minors, kids. Those are the ones that stick with me more so than anything else.
The difficult calls you go on, sometimes the accumulation of some of those difficult calls, or depending on kind of what season of life you're in, if you've got stuff going on at home or in your personal life.
One of them that really stands out to me is it has to do with the family, then being there as the reality sinks in for family members.
The family's reactions of a lost loved one is what really hits home. And we're kind of detached emotionally with these people, but if you put yourself in their shoes, it makes it hit home a lot more.
Listening to her plea and bargain with her son to come back, stuff like that. It's that call, it's those moments where we're trained to do our job. We know that we did everything that we could, but there's still going to be the aftermath that the family has to deal with.
Us as professionals, we go through trauma all the time, right? So we learn to channel it, right? We have resources for that, but these people don't. I actually go back and look into how my son or somebody else that doesn't do this profession would react to some of the calls that we see. And they have no idea.
When you have kids and a family of your own and you start to relate to these situations and you start to carry that and things become personal, and that really makes the job challenging.
We also walk into a lot of situations that are so far gone. We try everything, but we can't change them. So as a person who wants to help people, it's depressing when you know that there's nothing you can do to change an outcome.
A lot of these people that call 911 don't really know what their options are. If we identify that we have a resource that can help them, I'm always willing to share that with them.
My name is Russ Peters, and I am the Crisis and Trauma Interventionist lead chaplain for the Tacoma Fire Chaplain team. We're responsible for 24/7 coverage for Tacoma Fire. We're not paid by the city, we're paid through charitable deduction by first responders. So public safety chaplaincy is different than a community priest or community pastor.
The chaplaincy program was originally intended to be a support mechanism for the community we serve, a resource that we can call on as boots on the street to come and help citizens navigate unexpected hurdles.
Tacoma firefighters are the assessors, and they'll ask community members what more support they need, and they'll mention chaplaincy, and they'll explain crisis intervention.
From helping the person in the initial grieving process to identifying next steps, whether it's coordinating with a funeral home or, making those arrangements that haven't even crossed people's minds before. That was the original intent, but it's morphed.
We're pretty lucky to have Russ. Even when you ask him why he's a chaplain, and he says, because if I can come on scene and take over that part of a really difficult call and get you guys back in service and back to have dinner or do whatever it is that you have to get done after that, he goes, then I feel like I've done something.
Especially with our current chaplain, Russ Peters. He's very much so involved with peer support and supporting not only the citizens, but also supporting our members.
Russ has really kind of championed that combination of being available in that capacity, both for those outside the organization and for those inside the organization.
My dad told me a story back when he was in Vietnam. He goes, I went 10 days without sleep. And those are the 10 days I remember after 2.5 years, because he never got a break.
We encounter a significant amount of calls that might be minute to some individuals based off, their call volume and their encounters, but every call, there's some level of trauma.
I think that depression and PTSD is here because we don't get that break. If you don't get a break and you don't sit back and take time to reflect, I think that it just starts to weigh on you so much.
Over 37% of first responders meet clinical diagnosis for PTSD. That's astounding.
We got more people dying by suicide than in the line of duty across the board as first responders.
Yeah, it happens. It happens surprisingly more often than I think most people are aware.
I started that as soon as I was off probation. And unfortunately, one of the people that I became very close to and considered a really important person in my life, I got a phone call over the holidays that she had taken her own life. And that definitely rocked me.
I have two really close friends who actually attempted to kill themselves and were unsuccessful.
We're having people, end their lives or going through these dark pits of hell, and the people that they work with don't always even know about it. It's like this deep, dark secret.
It's not something that I've ever, been close to even considering, thank goodness. But, it's scary, man.
When we're outnumbering in the line of duty deaths is when it really needs to start opening people's eyes and going, what are we going to do about this?
So we not only see something that the human mind was not meant to see, but we lived through that over and over again. And if you think about it, that's continued repetitive trauma.
It must have been like the first week or first couple weeks I was even a paramedic student. Some lady threw her little kids off the 4th floor of a building and jumped.
That's wrong. 3 DOA. Commander Steve. GG terminal.
I'd never been exposed to that. I like to ski and go fishing, and like I never see anything like that. I didn't know how to process that. It was the most gnarly thing I'd ever seen. And then we go back to the station, and dudes all just go back to what they're doing. I was like, what? Guys would just line up in front of the payphone just to call home and tell their kids they love them. And then next thing you know, it's 7 a.m. and everyone just disperses and goes home and says, later, dudes. I can't see that sort of thing and then just go home and go about my business. I just can't.
Firefighters, if we're good at anything, I can wear a smile when I'm at work and do my job and leave, and nobody would really be able to see that, wow, he's really struggling today. But I also was going to kill myself.
Said the scene is not safe.
The hard part about that was I didn't realize it was occurring until you're a couple miles from shore. I certainly got to a stage where the stuff was getting more and more difficult to manage. When I just started having a lot of trouble with just stuff, I just wasn't as motivated about certain things, and I didn't feel as happy. I'm a pretty happy guy. I mean, I'm pretty happy now, but I've been through some, periods of time where I just was having trouble with my happy. You gotta have your happy. I've spent my whole life trying to chase my happy. So to just wake up one day and realize, I don't know where it is. I ended up going to see a counselor. He told me that I had all these symptoms of PTSD because he asked me a whole series of questions. Apparently by the way I answered, he's like, oh yeah, man, this is what's going on. I didn't know many people who, at least outwardly, had spoken to me about it or had freely told me that they had the same sort of thing going on with them. I just figured, well, dude's having a problem in his personal life. I didn't really attribute it to anything that was going on at work. People have been having problems in their personal lives forever. Just the way it goes. The counselor guy I was seeing at first, told me all this. I didn't want to hear that because it was a sign of weakness to me.
Grin and bear it. Don't show weakness. Once you show weakness, nobody's going to want to work with you.
I thought, what? I don't even know what you're talking about. There's no chance.
They're going to think, gosh, he's not strong enough. Maybe he's not going to have my back. Maybe he's not going to be there when I need him.
Deal with it myself. I can handle this.
Fear. That was what it was for me. The fear of appearing weak. My mentality was, if I'm the one that's having to ask for help, how can I be the one that's also doing the helping?
Not felt like there was some sort of a stigma attached to it. I just always thought it was a sign of weakness not to be able to handle. Because really, I do feel like it's a sign of weakness not to be able to handle on the calls. I don't mean handling your emotional stability in the long term afterwards.
The persona in the fire service throughout history has said, you're weak if you do this. That's exactly what I thought when peer support first started up. And I now see where I was wrong.
We're this brotherhood, or we're this family, and we miss the people right under our noses every day. It should never be that way.
I've always been very good at suppressing things, and pretending like I'm not really paying attention to stuff. Or maybe I just had better coping skills, when I was younger. I don't know. It's hard I haven't gotten to the bottom of that one yet.
Most people are afraid if I show weakness, I'm going to lose my job. I can't lose this job. This is my life. This is what I love to do. I mean, it's hard for us to retire when we get ready to retire.
I had the ability to get help. I'd already had a counselor tell me that this is something that I was dealing with. I didn't want to hear it, man. I just didn't want to hear it. It sounded like a lot of work. It's a lot easier to just put another mask on to cover the pain, right? It was for me. Underneath, it was raw and it hurt. Nobody wants to hurt. I don't want to hurt. I'm a happy person, and I was hurt.
To have just that mental weight all the time is really, really exhausting.
I'll be perfectly happy. It's this is an awesome day. I'm doing I don't know, fill in the blank, man, whatever it is that makes you smile. Because I like smiling. So I seek out things that make me smile. And then all of a sudden, something, you know, and it's generally like, I can't see a light blue Chevy Love without losing my shit. But it's for a reason. One of my favorite bands in the whole damn world is Boston. I can't even listen to them anymore. It's so messed up. So messed up. I just don't need that in my life because it takes my happy away. We're not people necessarily that ask for assistance. We help other people, you know, so I didn't ask for help. I tried to fix it myself. That's what we do. At least that's what I do. And it's what all the guys I work with do. We try to fix shit ourselves, you know? You're not gonna see me calling, asking somebody to fix my faucet. I'm not a plumber, but I'm fixing the faucet.
Why is that these people we rub shoulders with at shift change all the time don't feel comfortable pulling somebody aside and going, I'm dying on the inside, right? We like put up the facade.
I didn't feel overwhelmed and overloaded at work. It was the rest of my life. But it wasn't the rest of my life that was causing it.
You're starting to see some breaking points.
During the course of you trying to figure it out, everything's compounded by the fact that you're still doing it every single day.
You can only stress something so long before it's going to start to fail.
When I came on, we weren't as busy as we were.
Well, call volume certainly has increased.
Call volume and workload certainly are a really big deal. I have been at Ones for 3 years now, and our call volume just keeps going up. And sometimes I sit there and I think, I don't know how we're getting anything done just because we're so busy actually taking care of 911 calls.
Another one?
And
the numbers just don't lie. You know, you look at what we were running 20 years ago versus what we're running now. It's pretty incredible.
We run a lot of volume of calls.
We've got a bigger homeless population and they take a lot of our resources, and we provide the same care to everyone, but it's an increase that's taxing on our system.
You know, a slow shift here is 10 calls, and a busy shift is 20 or more.
When I got hired in '94, we were running about 25,000, and I think we're up over 70,000 now. So in 28 years, that's where we've gone.
The amount of hostility and violence that you face that's almost kind of becoming normal now, combine that with COVID and everything that's been going on with that, 18 calls a shift, like do the math. That doesn't leave a whole lot of time for much else.
I wouldn't change it. I love doing my job. It's not about me doing my job and being good at my job. It's about the way that I process what happens at my job.
it really has come to a head for me over the last year. Had a couple incidents where I was assaulted on calls. Between that and some really impactful calls that I went on, in addition to call volume, dealing with COVID, the things that everybody is dealing with, those really impacted my mental health. In June of 2020, I was sexually assaulted on a call by a bystander. My crew was already going back to the rig when it happened, and I just wanted to get out of there. I wanted to get back to the station. I have struggled a lot with shame in regards to that. The shame of actually being assaulted and like I didn't do something right to cause that to happen to me. I started questioning my decision making on calls. Started going to therapy, thinking that, okay, this is gonna help me deal with it. And then a year later, I was assaulted again, was diagnosed with PTSD and depression, and got to a point where, I was thinking about killing myself.
It's difficult, because you're constantly like filling up the bucket. It's gonna spill over at some point.
Channel A3, residential structure fire.
Notice all companies, baby is trapped in the second story, A side, alpha side, second story.
Go into 11. We're clear. We're taking a fire in our district.
Whether it's something that really, really, really bothers you, or it's something that just kind of slightly bothers you, there are gonna be things that we see that affect you. Things do affect you, and things had affected me and had changed the way that I was thinking and changed the way I was viewing myself and those around me. And it was affecting people that I love, you know? I had a lot of personal things that were going on that certainly didn't contribute to my happiness. But, you know, all the while, I'm dealing with all the stuff that I have at work, you know? And the stuff I was doing to try and, you know, get through it all, really was just me putting up another facade, you know, putting on a different mask, drugs, booze.
The more I drink, I'm thinking I'm sleeping, but you're not. You're just passed out. Your mind's still going 100 miles an hour. You're just not conscious that it's doing it.
Not only did it affect me at work, it affected me at home, affected my relationship.
Went through periods of time where my kids didn't talk to me. You know, I've been divorced twice.
I've had 2 divorces because I couldn't talk to my wives about it. They couldn't see why when I came home from work, sometimes I was quiet.
Risky behavior, violence, lose relationships. You know, you lose yourself a little. I rolled through all the classics.
It's like a bag of rocks. When you see good or you do good, you can take a rock out. When you see bad or you do bad, you put a rock back in. And it's not that we do bad, but sometimes we go on a call and we feel we didn't do enough.
The sheer volume of things that you see, the sad and the depressing situations that we encounter, they're gonna have an effect, they're gonna take a toll. And I think sometimes people don't recognize just how much it's affected them until they're in a really bad or dark place. And all of a sudden it's like, whoa, how did you get here?
It will affect you somehow. Maybe it affects some people just in a very slight fashion. It clearly affected me in a little bit more significant fashion. That's what you do though when you got a front row seat to human tragedy. I mean, I sit in the back of the rig, but I got a front row seat, man.
Everything we see is negative. Very little positivity coming out of the job.
I mean, there are a whole binder full of like really upsetting things that I've been involved with.
I would go to sleep not knowing what demon was gonna visit me because I didn't want to talk about it.
The screams and the smells, and those are the things that bug me the most.
We all have our friends, but sometimes there's things that you can't even tell your friends.
There's some roads I don't even drive down. I just don't. Because I don't want that. It takes my happy away.
Maybe I didn't do everything I could have. Maybe that person would have lived if we'd have gotten there just a second faster, or if we would have cut him out of the car quicker, you know. But that day I was tired, or I just wasn't focused enough. And so then we beat ourselves up, and so then that weighs on you.
There are certain kinds of cars that I can't even see anymore without.
2 deadly shootings in Tacoma overnight, both happening just a block from each other.
It could take a little bit longer for the fire department to respond to calls for help in Tacoma under potential budget cuts. Serial arsonist in Tacoma, police say that they could be responsible for up to 16 fires.
Tacoma PD has put out some numbers that are showing increases in assaults, robberies, motor vehicle thefts, and property damage. But the most significant increase has been in the form of arsons, which has gone up by almost 82% since November of last year.
It's kind of created like this perfect storm.
We've lost resources instead of adding resources. We only investigate major fires. Fatalities or high dollar loss or arson, criminal in nature or suspicious.
We also have seen a lot more violence. It's more than it was even 7 years ago.
The year before we did 170, and last year we did 334, so it basically doubled. We've reduced the amount of rigs that can respond on calls, but the call volume continues to go up, and that burden is put on the field.
I have been on more gunshot patients in the last 2 to 3 months than I had been on in the first few years of my entire career.
break. I need to find someplace to go. And right now there is nowhere really to go to get a break because all the rigs in the city are just inundated with calls.
Look at the numbers from 20 years ago, from 10 years ago. Look at the trends. It's just, you're beyond saturated, and you're seeing more and more people that are just reaching out for help going, hey, I'm not okay, I'm not good.
I was getting frustrated on calls. I was losing my cool a little bit sometimes with some of the patients out there. You know, when I first started in the fire service, 5-6 calls was a standard. Here you go, it's an okay day. Then it started to get up where we were doing 10 to 15 calls in a shift, not sleeping good. Prevention seemed like it was going to be a good break for me. It was a different line of work. Investigating fires, like putting together a puzzle, seemed interesting to me. And I talked with my wife and we decided that, you know, I just needed a break. I needed to take a deep breath for a little while, get away from the mundane running calls left and right, going out and just dealing with that stuff. So took the DFM test, passed, came out number 1, got promoted, and so now I'm just staying there. I kind of manage the office now, oversee all the investigators and the prevention, education, and fire investigation portion for the city. The way I see it is I kind of let my guard down. I wasn't as astutely aware when I was on an engine company. You're going on cardiac arrest, you're going on auto accidents with entrapment, you're mentally prepared to do this stuff, you can go do it. When I went down to prevention, I kind of let my guard down. I wasn't going on those calls no more. So I kind of, hey, I'm done with that side. I was burned out, I needed a break, so I went there to get that break, and it was working. The break was working great for me. But a lot of my support group in that time frame retired. They left the job. They're not here no more. Some of them have moved away. And I lost my support group. I lost my foundation. And at that point, I didn't really realize that I did because, like I said, I wasn't going on those calls anymore. I wasn't really being exposed to that stuff. Sure, I had some fire fatalities and stuff like that. And then January of 2017 rocked my world. It was just your standard house fire in a vacant building. The house was under remodel. When I walked in, no reports of any people inside of it. We found a bedroom. It looked like somebody had been living there, but we didn't know transients, right? We go on vacant house fires all the time. There's transients in them all the time. So for me, it was just another standard fire. 3:30 in the morning, here we go. Bathroom burned up in a house under remodel. Most people had already left. There was only a couple companies still on scene, and I started digging in the bathroom to figure out what I could do. And I picked up an item, thought it was a shampoo bottle. And when I looked closer, it was a head.
Steve, this was a brutal crime, one that police say was witnessed by members of the suspect's family, who are also accused of trying to help him cover it up. Now that man is locked up here in the Pierce County Jail, charged with first-degree aggravated murder.
And I stopped for a second and had to relook at it and go, oh, this is a head.
The bodies of 22-year-old Mary Burris and 31-year-old Teresa Greenhalgh, a mother of 3, were found by firefighters last week after the 32-year-old allegedly cleaned up the crime scene and set the house on fire to cover up the murders.
So I stood up, still holding it in my hand, not even realizing what I'm doing, realized I'm kneeling in this body. Right away I stopped, got everybody out, called for TPD. Spent 2.5 days on scene with the cops doing our investigation. We had found a second body. The 2 females had been decapitated. It was a gruesome scene. Not being prepared to know that that's what you were gonna find. Because most of the times, if you're going on a fire fatality, you can mentally prepare for it. You know you got a body in there, okay, I can mentally prepare. Not knowing kind of caught me off guard. I didn't really process it real good. I didn't have my support group, so I tried to deal with it on my own, on the outside. They really didn't do a diffusing. They didn't call me in. They didn't talk to me. They didn't sit me down. So it was just kind of deal with it on your own. That year, I had 8 fire fatalities in 2017. I got inundated with it. I started having nightmares right around December of 2017 when the weather started changing, started getting cold. It was real cold when the fire came in. I was just having nightmares, flashbacks. Some of them calls that I went on that I had filed away started coming back. I could start to see the faces. I could start to see them under the bleed through on the white blankets. I started to not sleep very good, and then I started to drink more than I normally drank. Just trying to deal with it, trying to figure it out. I'll get through this, it's gonna be okay. I got subpoenaed 5 different times for that, to go to court for that fire. So I had to relive that incident 5 different times in a 1.5 year period. Restudy the photos, restudy my report, do all that. When I finally went to court, I'm sitting on the stand and they had pictures of the 2 girls up there on the wall, and one of them looked just like my daughter. And I was able to just kind of block it out. 4.5 hours I was on the stand testifying, and the guy that had done the crime, he's sitting over there at the table. I got done, walked out of court, went home, had a couple drinks, sitting there, just trying to defuse myself. This is gonna be all right. I didn't sleep for 4 nights, because every time I would pick that head up and look, I could see my daughter's face. So I struggled with that for 2 years. Went to see a counselor. She wanted me to do a couple things, wanted me to quit drinking, and at that point I wasn't ready. I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing this, so I quit going. 2020 was a very hard year for me. COVID hit, I lost my whole social circle, was struggling, not sleeping. Wasn't coming into the office, so I didn't even have the fire department. I had them when I saw them for fires, but I didn't even have that. I sat at home the whole time, working from home. I didn't feel like I could trust talking to the department, because I was afraid I would have repercussions on me. And I think that's where a lot of people are. When you can't put that incident into a box, when you don't know how to deal with it and you get to the end, I think that that's when we get to the point where we're ready to cash in all our chips and just be done. October of 2020, I started contemplating suicide. I started thinking, I'm done with this. I can't do it no more. The dreams started getting worse. I started seeing my granddaughter's face instead of my daughter's. Around Christmas, when I turned it over, my granddaughter looked at me and said, "Save me, save me." And I woke up and I didn't know what to do. When I got up, I went outside. It's pouring down rain, and I'm sitting outside in the rain, and I'm just sitting there, and I'm done. I can't do this no more. But I had a project. I had to finish this project. I was building this she shed for my wife, so I got to finish this project first. January comes along. I finish the project. I get the sink in. Everything's done. I'm done with it. It doesn't matter no more. I'm done with this project. I started to have the nightmares again. My granddaughter's telling me, "Save me." My wife's birthday, I've ruined that for her, but we went out, we were drinking. We got home and I was done. I was tired. I hadn't slept for 3 nights. Argument, told her to leave. She wouldn't leave. And I said, "Get out of the house. I'm done with you. I don't want to be with you no more." And when she left, I texted all my kids and told them that I'm sorry, that they deserved a better dad. But they're all grown now. You guys are good. You're going to be okay. You guys are great kids. But I'm done. I can't do things like I'm doing them anymore. And I loaded a shotgun. My oldest son's the Pierce County Sheriff. He was trying to get a hold of me. He couldn't. He called the county sheriffs to come out and said, "Go check on my dad. Something's going on. I don't know what's happening, but something's going on." And as I was walking out my front door with a shotgun, a sheriff officer pulled up. I turned around, walked back in the house, realized that I wasn't gonna be able to get to the back end of my property, and sat behind my safe with a shotgun for probably an hour and a half with them talking to me. Russ called me, talked to me on the phone, our chaplain. And Russ convinced me that your granddaughter's fine. She's good. That's who you need to live for. If for nobody else, for her. I didn't care, but I couldn't do it in the house. I couldn't leave my wife with that mess. So I laid the gun down, and the rest is pretty much history. I ended up going to the hospital, and then I ended up going and getting help in a facility. So for PTSD.
My name's Jenny Gregory, and I'm a field traumatologist by practice, a refugee relief worker, and I'm honored to be able to serve as the mental health professional for Tacoma Fire Department. Traumatology is a discipline that studies across all other disciplines. It's considered to be transdisciplinary. To be able to deal with trauma means that you're crossing all domains of life to be able to understand where's the fire burning in the person's heart. How do we keep firefighters healthy? What do we need to do? What machinery in the mechanics of the human study has to be introduced in order that people have a life? You're not just a firefighter. You're a dad, a mom, a brother, a sister, a husband, a wife. How do we keep all those domains up and running while you're out risking your life, saving our community? Been really intrigued by the way people navigate and how their resilience is developed, as well as what does post-traumatic growth look like? And we began to understand where the scars can hide.
Jenny, on the other hand, totally understands what the experience and the damage that's done by doing this work. So she currently serves as our official mental health provider for the peer support team.
I am part of the mental health task force, and I'm responsible for the training of the peer support team.
She gives a ton of time for this fire department. She cares about what's going to happen to our first responders out there. And she's doing it for nothing. She's worked with a lot of military. She's been to a lot of war zones. Actually, right now, she's on her way to Ukraine if she's not there already.
I worked in the military for 5 years. I was responsible for a program that for all medical personnel going in and out of Iraq and Afghanistan. About 50,000 people. We had about 40 staff doing that job.
Worked with people at 9/11 at Ground Zero.
I had 15 different colored tags on my lanyard, which meant that I could go into the pit. And I worked the body part line where they would get the Home Depot buckets and they'd put body parts in there, and then somebody had to walk with the person who had discovered the body part over to one of the makeshift morgues. And I did a lot of that. Mostly what I did was I watched the body language of those who were digging around in the dirt, those who were on mission, those who were yelling at each other. And I would go and I'd lend my physical support.
The way she explained it to me is if she's truly going to understand what we go through, she needs to see it and be part of it. And so she's done that.
I have firefighters now almost every day, and I see that face in the way that people present themselves. In your face. I know that there's something way deep that gurgles night and day. I don't know what that is. I think people who work the edges and aren't afraid, they have that same gurgle. I don't even know what to call it. Maybe it's an adrenaline rush. I'm sure people would love to have that kind of ease to identify it. But I think most people that work the edges of life's fabric come out of that, and they don't want others to be trapped in it.
She came to see me at the hospital and walked in and held nothing back. She goes, "Are you ready now? Are you ready to make that next step?" And I go, "Yep." She goes, "All right."
Every great journey just starts with that first step, and I was like, all right, you can't just keep covering up how you feel, because ultimately you still feel that way. I went back to DC and went to the IAFF Center of Excellence, which is like this really cool program that the IAFF's put together, and it helps just firefighters, both retired and active, but just firefighters deal with, the effects of this kind of stuff.
In August of last year, Matt Frank actually pulled me aside in the officer's dorm room and said, "Hey, I'm really concerned about you. I've noticed that you are snapping at people, that you're short-tempered, that you're not happy. It's just not you at all." And I completely broke down. I mean, it was just like that last little piece that finally I just made the phone call.
The culture of the fire service, as it's been reported to me, even 20 years ago, has been the expectation that firefighters don't cry. They take care of it in-house. Whatever the broken places are, they figure it out either by themselves or in the firehouse.
I mean, it was kind of poked fun at, debriefings and talking about stuff. You just didn't really do it. There was kind of a stigma to that. That's, I think, being broken down.
The reason that we do a diffusing is because part of starting the healing process after a really traumatic call, a very difficult call, is not trying to fill in the gaps of what happened.
When something bad happens and we don't have an answer, we want to make the answer. Instead of you're done with a bad call and you're heading home in your car and you're thinking about all these things you thought you did wrong and everything else, now you have a system that supports you, that shares with you, hey, here's a perspective from your crew. It resolves it in a positive way to say, okay, everybody did the best that everything they could.
It's not a time to critique tactics. Tactics may come up, but it's more about, is everybody mentally okay?
Any firefighter can go on a scene and they may feel, hey, I think we need to have a defuse after this incident.
Going over the call right then and there while it's still fresh in your mind, right? But before you start forgetting things or you start purposely forgetting things.
When it first happened, devil's advocate, I thought it was stupid. Why do I gotta go? It didn't bother me, but it does. And I think being in those diffusings is a great thing for everybody that was on the call. Now, if you didn't make it to the call, you got canceled around, I don't think you should go. But if you made it there and you were there and you played an active role, it's a great thing.
Man, why are we even doing this? I don't need this, right? Well, if you don't need it, it's not for you, but you're there to support maybe the one or two people that do need it.
The one thing that you might speak up and say might be the thing that really helps somebody else get through whatever emotion they are dealing with in regards to that incident.
That's why having good partnership is important. You don't even have to say anything. All you have to do is get close enough and be intentional. Be aware of, wow, this person's got this and this and this signal. I think I'll just stand here for a while.
Maybe it might make another person realize, oh, I didn't even realize that happened. We did do a good job there.
It gives me an opportunity to just start to try and digest stuff, at least for myself. It gives me an opportunity to see where everybody else there is at.
And for some people, they don't need that. We have members that have gone 20 years, calls don't affect them. I've heard members go, I'm not really a kumbaya kind of person, but there might be someone sitting next to you that doesn't have that resiliency, and they might be suffering in silence, and you might not even know that. You might not even realize the impact that you simply showing up and just saying what you did on the call can have on them.
They need to have a moment to get their breath and put things back into perspective or unpack it all and begin the somewhat difficult journey of post-traumatic growth.
I didn't realize I was struggling, but I knew it. I knew there was something wrong. I'm not sleeping. I'm drinking too much. My wife, all she saw was the alcohol. She didn't realize what was going on in my head. I didn't tell her. I didn't talk to her. I didn't open up. I should have. I should have talked to her more. I should have told her what was going on.
I'm typically a quiet person, but my wife knows me really well. She notices these signs. She's like, hey, you need to go talk to someone because you've gone a few days now without talking.
One really good thing out of it is that I've been able to learn what feelings I'm actually feeling, learn what my needs are so that I can express those to my husband. So that has improved our communication a lot and has been a lot better at home anyway.
You do need to take it home. You do need to let your wife know. You don't need to tell them the details. They don't need to know everything, but they need to know, man, I'm struggling right now. I've had a rough couple shifts.
Believe it or not, I've been going to counseling now for, I want to say almost 4 years. I go weekly. You know, at times I have nothing to say to them. Sometimes I drag going. I'm like, I don't even have anything to talk about. But I do have that platform just to get anything off my chest, whether it's work related or personal matters.
I see a counselor on a regular basis now who I have a really good relationship with, and I can call her anytime.
I think the first step is just self-recognition.
Self-care is not an option in this line of work. It has to be this way. You want the job, take the responsibility and take care of the vehicle that you have in order to do the job well and get to the finish line.
Just the simple acknowledgement that this is something that was, I was basically afflicted with. And it's not just me. I mean, I'm nothing special. I'm just some dude.
Doing self-care to the same degree that you put out your help, that you offer help with the same vigor that you put it in, will keep you alive and well. If one of them is shorter or lesser than the other, your life will be out of balance. You will not find center, and you'll always look for the next best medication. The best medication is self-care in, care for others out with the same velocity.
I know that wound is still there. It's still too fresh. I'm still seeing a counselor today. And so it's kind of where I'm at right now.
I'm very thankful that he pulled me aside. I'm thankful that he had the wherewithal to recognize it in me. I think if he hadn't said something, eventually I would have ended up trying to kill myself or killing myself. So I think he saved my life.
I know that sometimes people are afraid to speak out and say something because they don't want to cause a fight, or they don't know how to approach you to say, hey, are you doing okay? Because they're afraid of a confrontation. Well, sometimes you need to have that confrontation to get that person the help they need.
My counsel to people, 100% of the time, I'd rather you be alive to be mad at me than to be dead and me not to have questioned. I've had a lot of people be mad at me, and it is the price of my job. I take satisfaction in knowing that they're still alive and pissed. That's okay.
It was hard to hear it. I don't think anybody wants to hear that, oh, hey, you've really changed and I'm really worried about you. But part of what this family is about is to care about them enough to recognize those things and then to say something.
And here's the reason for doing it. If somebody doesn't say to someone who's really struggling, looks like you're really struggling, they're going to go out on a rig, they're going to make a bad call, they're going to turn left when they should have turned right, they're going to become a liability to their team, and they're not going to go home that night. That's why it becomes a danger on the job. That's why it's an OJI. That's why the fire service and the police have identified an RCW where there's presumptive eligibility for PTSD for on-the-job injury.
I filed for OJI after my second assault and wanted a mental health OJI, which I think is absolutely valid for what I was going through. They denied it at first, and then I refiled it, was able to tie it specifically to an incident, and they approved that.
If you weren't on this job, you wouldn't have those exposures. Those are injuries as well. Those are things that we carry with us every single day. Now, they may not have a definable point of injury time frame, but it's an accumulation over time. It's absolutely a job-related injury. However, the process-wise is not there yet. If you hurt your back at work, if you broke your leg, there's an expectation that the workplace is going to be involved and be part of the solution to get you better because it happened in the workplace. OJI process, again, has not been overly friendly on the mental health side. And I know we're making progress to swing that the other way. But the other part that comes with this is a lot of time people keep these issues extremely private. You really come to some limitations when you're hunting down resources for yourself while you're in crisis. That's not a good situation.
Our peers sometimes can do the most help, more than even necessarily a therapist, especially within the fire service, because we get what each other is going through.
It's peer to peer, firefighter to firefighter. In a situation, that is one of the best ways of support and help, to be there and to offer guidance, and just sometimes it's even just a simple phone call or checkup after a bad call.
Eventually it's going to become the rock of the fire department, because I think once people start to see what it truly can do, that there are no consequences for going to peer support, that it's going to be used way more than it's used now.
I was about 30 days into the program and I was feeling like, okay, I see these other people and they're happy and they are saying that things are getting better for them, and here I am and I still feel really depressed and maybe I should just go home. I don't want to be here. And it was right about then that I started doing EMDR work, where I was able to talk through my traumas, my assaults that I had had.
Eye movement desensitization response techniques that was developed to help the brain move from left to right and be able to facilitate coping skills more effectively.
It doesn't make them go away, but it desensitizes them, so I don't have the emotion attached to them anymore that I did, the shame that I felt, the fear that was attached to it.
When I started to do the EMDR stuff for the trauma stuff, it clicked. I realized that, wow, this is eating me up. I didn't realize it. I didn't realize that some of those calls were coming back until stuff started coming up that I thought I had forgotten. And they helped me find closure for a lot of that stuff.
It's not easy to talk about it when you don't know anything about it. Like, there were a lot of people that I met that were from very diverse backgrounds who were dealing with this exact same thing.
I was only going to do the 30 days and get out. I stayed 10 more days. I look back now and I think I probably should have stayed 60 days, not 40.
I realize coming home, like, all of the work is not done. Even though treatment is super helpful, it's not like the cure. There are still going to be things that impact me and trigger me, and I have hard days, and the spot where I was assaulted downtown, it still impacts me when we drive through there, and I'm just exhausted continuing to think about it.
Treatment helps to recenter, pull some energy in quickly, being able to help reprioritize. In my opinion, that's what treatment says. Just recenter. Now, do you need to go to treatment? Sometimes. Sometimes the level of self-care has been so low that you're pulling on your deficit. When you give out of your deficit, your recovery time's far longer.
I know where it sent me. And if I can save one brother or sister from making that mistake, then I've done everything that I needed to do. Because this job will eat you alive unless you can talk. And if you're not willing to talk, it will eat you alive.
You know, the old adage that you just want to make things better for your kids than you had yourself. Well, that's the way I see it. You know, this is all a family to me.
So this is what I want the firefighter to know that is sitting in the shadows, thinking they're covering up their anxiety or their depression. The thought that it would be easier to drive into a tree instead of going home. The inability to say the feelings because you're just not sure. You don't have to sit in that. You can find the help. People around you are really familiar with some of those sensations. Don't suffer alone. Don't be afraid to ask for help.
It doesn't just need to be peer support. We have our chaplain program. They can reach out. We have Code 4. There's so many programs out there that people can use besides peer support. And just talking to a fellow firefighter sometimes, we all have those guys that we're super close to. And I think that to me, that's peer support. They might not be on the team, but they're still peer support.
Just take that step. Swallow your pride. If you're in a place that's not good, don't be another statistic. Reach out. Don't make the department go to another funeral.
I think that talking about it is what is going to get us ahead of that. Being willing to talk about it and share their stories.
The cost to yourself and to your family is enormous. If you make a decision that has a permanent solution to a problem that's transient, it may not be that you want to die, but you don't know how to live. And there is help inside the fire service, confidential, that you can secure, and it's not too hard to do. Go to FireStrong, call your peer support team, call me, call your chaplain, call a buddy that's in the rig with you. You don't have to do this by yourself. People care.
I'm sure most of us are in this together, and we just need to smash the stigma and to talk about it.
That's where I think the fire service needs to change. It's not weakness to say I need help. It's not weakness to say I'm going to see a counselor. And I learned through what I went through, it was stronger for me to do what I did than it was to hold it inside and not express that. It's not a weakness. It takes strength to do that.
No one should suffer in silence on this job. We're each other's #1 resource. We're here to take care of each other.
And we talk about being a family. We talk about loving one another. Well, that is what love is. That is what love is. It's being there when people are hurting and down and need you.
We want you successful in your life, not just in your job.
I've got just as many shirts in my past that are soaked full of tears as full of blood. Whether it's my tears or patients' tears, I'll hug it out on a call. I don't care what anybody thinks. And I honestly don't think anybody thinks poorly of it. I don't. And if somebody does, it doesn't really bother me. I don't care. It's fine. I can't walk through a room of pain and not have some of it rub off on me. Sometimes your scars are what makes you beautiful.